Hey, what's up, aspiring game developers? My name is Bosk, and today I'm going to be demonstrating how to make a simple Pac-Man style movement in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. I've had a couple people request this on my last tutorial video that I made. It was just a quick and dirty tutorial, but I've had a lot of people asking me how I made the Pac-Man movement engine. So I figured I would go over that today and show you guys just a simple way to make a Pac-Man movement engine in case you're wanting to use that for your game. Okay, so first thing you're going to need, obviously, is Pac-Man sprite. And then you're also going to need some sort of like a maze wall style sprite as well. You can use active objects, you can use background objects, whatever you want to do. For right now, I'm just going to make them background objects just so we can just do something easier. And you want to make sure, especially for a Pac-Man style movement, you want to make sure that everything is kind of on a grid. It's very important in the Pac-Man game, actually, that everything is kind of based on a grid. It makes everything just work so much better. So I'm going to make this, just going to kind of do a quick and dirty thing on here. I already have my Pac-Man sprite because, well, I am currently working on a new version of a Pac-Man clone, and I'll show a little bit of that at the end of the video. But for right now, you know, we're just going to make this. This is going to be basically my maze wall, is this right here. And then I'm also going to, just because I like it, let's make this a solid color black. I'm actually going to make this fill up the whole thing. I don't need it to be like that, though. Alright, where's the end of the stage? There it is. Okay. So we've got that. We've got a little grid system going, and I'm going to, of course, move this to the back so we can see our maze wall. So let me change this just a little bit to make this a little bit easier to read. Let's maybe make this like as close to black as possible. So you can still see the grid, but it's not quite as annoying. Okay, so we've got our little maze wall. We'll go ahead and just like name that maze wall. And of course it is a object or a backdrop object that can be collided with. So what I'm going to do is just quickly make a little maze just to put in here so we can kind of go over what we're doing with this. And yeah, just give me a moment here, and I'm just going to draw a little maze or something so we have some area to test the stuff in. Okay, there we go. Again, just a quick and dirty maze, just something to kind of just demonstrate what I want to do here. We'll put Pac-Man down here kind of at the end. Simulate a little ghost house here, whatever. It isn't really necessary. We're not going to be using that right now. So we've got our maze walls, and let me just make sure all of their obstacle. Let's make them an obstacle. So now all of those are considered obstacles, and that should give us what we need. Now for Pac-Man himself, obviously you're going to need your 4 basic movements, and then you're also going to need animations for each of those. I already have this set up on this because this is a sprite I've already used before. But there's a couple other things that you're going to want to do for this system to work. And I'm going to preface this by saying this may not be the best method for making a Pac-Man system, but this is the method that I have developed, and I think it works pretty well. So, you know, you can take this, maybe come up with a better idea, whatever you want to do. But this is what I've done in the past, and this is, again, what seems to work for me pretty well. So what I use are these things right here called movement points, and I put those movement points basically at the center of every single corner that Pac-Man can move through. So any position on there where he can turn a corner, where he can move around, these little things are going to be sitting here, and these are active objects, of course. So we want to make sure that we have something that our center point of Pac-Man can collide with and be able to make him move around corners and whatnot. So again, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the video here as well while I go ahead and pop these all over the maze. But give me just a moment and you'll see what it looks like when it's all finalized. Okay, so I've got the movement points all put around the maze. I made a couple little modifications to the maze just to kind of test some stuff out. Actually, let me do this real quick. I'm going to take away these walls, and I'm actually going to put some movement points right here at the ends of these just to see if we can test out dead ends. Typically, most Pac-Man games don't have dead ends, but again, you know, you're making the game, you can make whatever you want. And I did some little stuff down here as well to kind of just test some stuff out too. So, so yeah, that's the basic grid-based system, and your movement points don't have to necessarily be this exact size, they don't have to be that. It just has to be something that's on this grid space that lets the game know that this is a spot that can be moved on. So, let's go ahead and save this. And what we're going to do here now is a couple other things. So I've got these little things here that I developed, and they're just called I call them the sensors. And these sit on top of Pac-Man like this. And you can, of course, again, make them however you want, to whatever shape, size you want. But basically what this is this is colliding with a box. It's something that's going to be following Pac-Man around throughout the maze. And we want it to basically be able to touch the walls of the maze while he's moving around. And that's going to let the game know, you know, when Pac-Man is colliding with walls, when he's not, so that it can determine which direction are able to go. And then the last thing is you want to have like some sort of a center point for Pac-Man as well. Obviously, all of these things are hidden. Same thing with these movement points at the beginning of the stage. So nothing's going to be able to be seen once the player actually plays it. For right now, obviously, you know, like I said, it's going to look like that. So you don't see any of those movement points, you don't see any of that stuff. Make them all hidden at start. So that should be in... Why can't I find it? Visible at start, my bad. So visible at start, make sure all those are not checked, so that way it won't be visible. Okay, so what we're going to do is go into our event editor. And one of the first things we're going to have to do is make sure, and I've already set this stuff up, so these things have their hotspots placed at 0, 0, according to where Pac-Man is. So his hotspot, of course, is placed at 16, 16. So I've made it so that these hotspots actually are basically going to be put on the exact same hotspot as Pac-Man, so it spaces these things out correctly. Just to kind of give you a quick view on it, I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and make these all visible at start. And what I'm going to do here is make a new always condition. And I'm going to say always position, select position to be at 0, 0 from Pac-Man. I'm going to go ahead and just copy that for all 4 of those. So you can see here now, that's what they're supposed to look like. They're reaching out, they're kind of touching all of the maze walls around them to make sure that he's not colliding with anything. So that's an always condition. We're actually going to move that a little bit further down here because what we're going to want to do is a couple other things here. you can use what's called, and what I like to use is called a sub-pixel movement, which basically makes it so that you have a little bit more range of motion on your movements rather than just being 1 pixel at a time, 2 pixels at a time, you know, etc. I'm not going to go into that right now. I mean, I can program that in later, but I would recommend you guys go watch a tutorial video by AlmightyZenTaco. I'll go ahead and link that down below so you can check it out. He does amazing tutorial videos. Highly recommend going and watching his videos. But he did a great explanation on sub-pixel movement, which is really key in giving you some freedom on your movement system. But for now, we're going to make everything simple. I'm just going to make Pac-Man move 2 pixels every time he moves. So, couple alterable values you're going to want to have for your Pac-Man sprite is going to be, well, for sub-pixel movement, you want to have an X position and a Y position. We're not going to worry about that right now. Or a Pac speed right now. We're not going to worry about that. But I've got a movement system, which is, or a movement alterable value to determine whether or not Pac-Man is moving or if he's not. So, we're going to go ahead and put a new condition, and we're going to do keyboard repeat while a key is pressed, and that is going to be let's just do left for right now. And this is kind of, I mean, again, I don't know if this is, we'll do it quick and basic right now, so I'll just do that and make sure this works properly. And then we're going to go add a new condition plus his alterable value, his movement alterable value equals 0. We're going to direction, select his direction to be left, and we're going to turn that alterable value to 1. You could probably also use a flag for this rather than a movement actual alterable value, whatever you choose to do. And we're going to go ahead and copy this and make new ones for every single different direction. So let's do an up, down, left, and right. I'm actually going to move these around just because of preference. And then, of course, you're going to want to edit all of your conditions. Make it so that one's up. This one here is going to be down. And then this one over here is going to be right. So now you'll be able to see here that it's only going to work once, obviously, when I start the frame, but I can change his direction. And that's pretty cool. But what we want is for him to move. So we'll make some new conditions here, which are going to state, you know, alterable value compared to one of the alterable values. His movement equals 1. And add a new condition. His direction equals up. Then we're going to go to position, select or set his Y coordinate to his current Y coordinate minus 2. And again, going to kind of do this with all the other directions as well. I'll have to change the X and the left and rights to be X and Y's. But give me just a moment here. I'm going to go ahead and cycle through all of these. Now, you may be looking at this and saying, but hey, isn't that just going to make it so that he walks right through walls? And you would definitely be correct. But we're going to change that in a little bit. So plus, all right. This one needs to be, these two need to change because we're going to position set X coordinate to his current X coordinate minus 2 since he's moving to the left. We'll go ahead and delete that and then move this down here and set that to plus 2. Now, if we move this, he's going to start moving. And of course, he's going to go off the screen since we don't have anything else. So we need to edit our conditions just a little bit here. So let's go up to these, because obviously you saw he just went right through the wall, completely out. And one other thing you notice is that the order of the conditions in your event editor actually determines how events happen. So if you notice here, you see how those his collision detectors are perfectly on him there, but when I start moving, look how they kind of drag behind him. The reason for that is because this event, where it sets their position, is above these other ones. So we want to move that down to the bottom. I didn't mean to copy that. We'll go ahead and just delete the old one. But now if we push it, you'll see they stay on in perfectly. So that's what you want. You want it to be like that. So the order of which your stuff happens is what you want. Now, we're going to add a little bit of some different qualifiers here. I'm going to go ahead and go to add a new condition on this movement thing. And that's going to say his up sensor, collision, overlapping a backdrop. And we're going to go ahead and negate that. So we want to say while somebody's pushing the up button, plus his movement equals 0, and his up sensor is not overlapping a backdrop object, then we'll allow him to move up. And of course, we're going to do the same thing for each of these other directions. So this one's going to be the left sensor. We're going to move this over here. This is going to be the down sensor. And this one here is going to be the right sensor. So now I can't move up. I can't move down. It won't let me because both those sensors are colliding with a backdrop. It won't do it. But I can go ahead and move this way. Also, one other thing I need to do real quick is to, on all of these things here, I want to change his animation. Change animation sequence to walking. So give me just a moment. We're going to go ahead and change all of those. Doesn't matter because the direction's already set and everything, but I just want to make sure he's actually doing his little eating animations. So now he should animate. And now, of course, you can't move back the other direction, so that kind of stinks. So what are we going to do about that? Let's see here. I honestly forget a little bit how I did that, but regardless, let's go ahead, before we move on to changing directions, what I'm going to do is make another set of collisions here, or another set of events that's going to say, now we need to make Pac-Man stop, essentially, when he hits a wall. So we can do that here. We're going to go new condition, and we're going to say collision overlapping another object, or overlapping a backdrop, excuse me. So when he overlaps a backdrop, we need him to stop. But, and this is where those little movement points come into play. We're going to say, I also need to put that at 002, I believe. And we're actually not going to worry about the center point for right now. We can do this tutorial without that. So he's overlapping a backdrop object. Plus, we also want to do another condition where it says he is also overlapping a center point. And the reason why we need that there is because we need the program to know which center point we're talking about, or the movement point. Since we have several of them all across the maze, the program needs to know which one we're talking about. You can't just pick one at random. So he's overlapping a backdrop, plus he's facing up direction. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set his position at 0, from the movement point, and it knows which one it is because we did that. We're going to change his animation sequence to stopped, and we're going to change his alterable value, the movement one, to 0. I'm going to set that to 0, and then that should take care of it for that direction. So again, this is just kind of tedious stuff, I know, but we're going to go ahead and paste these for all these different directions. To be fair, actually, that may not even be necessary. Let me try something real quick here. I did it for every direction before, but no, that's not actually necessary. So yeah, now I can move him around the maze a little bit. He does kind of do a little bounce off of a wall, which again is something that the sub-pixel movement would fix. But you'll see here that he obviously is not moving. He can't move through intersections. He can only go until he hits a wall and then he stops. So we still have a little bit more to work on for this, but essentially that will work out nicely for the moment. I'm going to move that up again. I want that to always be at the bottom. But that stops him in place and keeps him exactly where he needs to be. So, alrighty. So we've got that that condition there. Now what we need to do is make 4 more conditions that are basically going to say, and we can do this here. We're going to state, actually let's go ahead and copy these because I want to be able to make him turn around. So we're going to say the up arrow is pressed. Let's go like this, and we're going to say plus, yeah, we'll make this movement equals 1, and plus, add a new condition equals down, and we don't need that movement equals 1 anymore. We're just going to set the direction to that. So again, I'm going to do this for each of the different directions here. So basically what this is doing is stating if he's moving in the opposite direction of what he currently is, this is going to allow us to turn him around. So again, just take a moment to put these in here. And you know, if you figure out a better way to do this with less conditions, that's fantastic. I definitely encourage you to experiment, play around, see what you do. Again, my method may not be perfect, but you know, it works. So now I can move him back and forth. We can go up, but we still can't turn at intersections. We're stuck going one direction until we hit a wall. So that's going to be the final thing we're going to fix here. Let's go down here. And one more time, what we're going to do is we're going to grab each of these conditions here, and we're going to go down here, and we're going to paste them here. We're going to go ahead and move our always condition down to the bottom though again. And this one here, we're going to say, so his up arrow is being pressed. And this is going to be where our little center point thing is going to come into play. We're going to go ahead and set his, always set that center point position at his 0, 0. And let me just go back out here, and we're going to take all 4 of these little things. We're going to turn their visibility off, so we don't need those bugging us. Now for each one of these directions, we're going to say repeat while his up arrow is being pressed, plus, we're going to change this one here. We're going to make it so that his direction is facing either direction, either the left or right, because we're changing from a horizontal to a vertical. And what we want to do here is make it so that, add a new condition, his this is overlapping one of the movement points. And then what we're going to do is set direction to up, and we're also going to select his position and set that position to be at 0, 0 from that movement point. So essentially what this is going to do is move him to where he needs to be. And change his direction, but it's going to center him on that movement point. That's why those are so important, because it keeps him within that grid-based system. So again, I'm going to go ahead and edit the rest of these. Give me just a moment to change these. I'm going to make this one, since we're moving left, we need the vertical. So let's clear these out, move those there. And that's right. And then all of these should have this in them. And we're going to just go ahead and do position, set position 0, 0 from that, and just add that to each one of these. And one last one. There we go. So now we should have this working pretty well. Now, of course, he does kind of pop around a little bit. You can modify this a little bit to make it so that he doesn't, especially if he's moving, like if it's an up or down. You can make it so that essentially he's not going to pop because the center point thing that I have is kind of big. So as soon as it's touching one of those and I'm hitting that intersection, he's moving. So again, if you just want to refine this a little bit more, what we can say on these conditions here, for example, he's moving up, and we want to say here, let's add a new condition, say his X position, no, Y position is, take the Y coordinate there, and is lower than or equal to Y position of that minus, let's do 2 pixels. So that way it kind of evens out. We can do the same thing for the down arrow, except we need to change this to greater than or equal that. Actually, I did that. Hang on. This one needs to be +2. That one needs to be -2. And then we can do the same thing here. Add a new condition. His X coordinate is, this is left arrow, so we're going to be moving up and down. Hang on a moment, give me just a moment here. Actually, I think I messed that up. I think I need that here instead. So he's moving up or down. Okay, hang on. So his Y position, we want it to be within like a 4 pixel radius of that, depending on which direction he's moving. And since he's always moving 2 pixels, this is easy. Again, with subpixel movement, this makes it a little bit easier, so I apologize that I'm kind of a little bit confused on my own, because I did it a bit differently when it came to the subpixel movement. But let's see here. So his Y position is greater than or equal to the movement point -2, but less than or equal to that for the up and right, and then we'll do the same thing here as well. I think this should work out just fine. And then again, we're going to delete these because these need to be X. Add a new condition. Position X position is greater than or equal to, that's not what I want, position X coordinate -2, but is also less than or equal to +2. So that gives us a basically a 3 frame position. And since the player can hold the keyboard directions, they should be able to move it wherever. Let's go ahead and save it and test it just to make sure. Okay, so you can see how that looks a lot nicer, and he doesn't pop all over the place now. Again, he still kind of pops when he hits the walls and everything, but that's something, again, that with subpixel movement you'll get the hang of, and you'll know how to determine that. But yeah, right there, that's basically a very basic Pac-Man style movement that lets him move wherever he wants, gets him to stop at intersections, and you can move freely around wherever you want to. You have your little, you have your movement points, and of course those are hidden, and then everything else kind of takes care of it. So what I can do as well, because in the original Pac-Man game there is like a cornering method that you can use. Again, if I started doing that, I'd probably change everything into a subpixel movement, but I would definitely be up for showing you guys how to do something like that as well. For now, I think this kind of concludes this easy tutorial, just to kind of show you again what you need to make a basic Pac-Man style movement. And all you would need to do is just kind of add some dots into the maze, and then you can make your Pac-Man go around and eat the dots as well. So if you guys have any comments or questions, please just post them down below. I'll be happy to answer them the best I can. And I'm going to go ahead and show off a little bit of the current Pac-Man project that I'm working on, just so you can kind of get an idea of what, if you refine this stuff a little bit better, what you can actually do with a Pac-Man style movement in Clickteam Fusion. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I do hope you have a great day. I'll catch you next time.